Welcome to the Sports Car Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome. I am here. I am jet lagged, and I am still on West Coast time. All the times I've gone the West Coast, maybe it's my age, but it never really seemed to affect me that much. I seem to bounce back pretty quick. This time a little bit. It took me a long time to get used to it out there, and probably the one or two nights I got a good night's sleep, and now I'm back and I'm like, oh, I got to get up already. But I'm here. We got a lot of information to cover today, and I'm just gonna throw the apology out first. If I don't shout you out, I apologize because I met so many people last week at this West Coast card show. Shout outs could literally be the whole episode. But I definitely want to give out a huge shout out to Donald McAllister, who runs the West Coast Card Show. He was my point guy. He helped me get into the show, got me all the information. And just checked on me the whole time, checking on me, getting out there, make sure I had everything I needed. And when I got there, knowing I was alone, said, look, if you need somebody, just message me. I'll send somebody to your table if you need a break or something like that. So appreciate him. A huge shout out to Dave at Clubhouse.cards. He's from Utah, set up right behind me. He was my guy all weekend, watched my table, if I had to duck out or go anywhere. And he was just an awesome neighbor to have at the show. And one of those people, and I don't even know if he felt the same way, but I think if we lived closer together, I think we would be really good friends. It was just a great guy. It was fun to hang out with all weekend. Another huge shout out to my guy Kevin and everyone over at SKB Cases. You can see I am wearing the other side. I'm wearing the merch, wearing the shirt. But Kevin and his crew, they gifted me a beautiful case, which I am going to be doing an IG live just to kind of show you the case. Can't do it here, obviously, but gifted me a custom case with my logo etched into it. Beautiful. Everyone I've showed is just like, where can I get one of these? So I think these are it's just on the ground floor. I think it's more of a prototype right now, but they're getting ready to ramp up, and I'm going to show that case later. Really excited to have that case. My guy over at Gem Mint Cardboard also checking in on me all weekend long if I needed anything. And he also gifted me a hobby box of Upper Deck World Sports, which I was able to rip in the hotel room. So really, thank you. Shout out to you. Appreciate you. At Gambit Walking came by, said hello. I was able to get him a T-shirt. Most people who came to say hello got a T-shirt. Lawrence at Death X Cards. Shout out to him. And you probably saw not only did we meet out there, but we got a deal done too. He bought my Caitlin Clark Prism draft picks auto to 10. So I know it's in good hands now. And I know where it is. That was a card that went from redemption to grading and now to him. So he is the second owner of that card. Keith at K&K _ sports cards, also checking in on me this weekend, coming over and saying hello. Appreciate you. Look, traveling out there, it's fun to travel. I do like to travel. It can get tiring at times, but there's nothing worse traveling when the day does not go well, where you plan everything out, where my plane is leaving at 6:50 a.m. and I'm going to be you know at my destination by 1 o'clock, right? And everything fell apart going out there, flying Delta. I had I showed up at the airport to find out that their crew needed rest, so they canceled the flight I was on and rescheduled me on another flight. And I had a connecting flight out of Atlanta. So this flight was getting, and so I had a couple hour layover, right? So this flight was getting me, my original flight was getting me, I had 2 hours, or an hour, almost 2 hours in Atlanta. So my new flight was landing me in Atlanta at 11:17, but my connecting flight was leaving at 11:15. So there was a 2 minute difference. Gates were right next to each other. And they said, well, hopefully you'll get in a little early and be able to get on that. So how this went. they they're messaging me. We land, they're messaging like they're about to close the doors, your plane's getting ready to leave, that type of thing. Is what can I do, right? And as we're pulling into that gate, I see my plane backing out, so I knew I missed that. So now I had another 4.5 hour layover. So I paid for upgraded seats so I could get on, because I'm traveling with all my cards in a carry-on bag, right? Which I don't want that to leave my side. So pay for the upgrade so I know I'm getting on and those cards are staying with me. Well, of course, now they're putting me on other flights and I'm losing the upgrade. They're putting me at the back of a plane. So my second flight, I'm going to get on. I'm on Group 6, and I get up to the thing, so I'm the very first one, because I know they're probably going to come out and say, no more roller bags. And of course, they said he gets a call and he's like, "All right, you're going to have to check the bag, leave it at the bottom of the thing." I said, "Look, I really can't leave it. I originally paid." I'm starting to tell him my story. He looks at me, he says, "Well, you don't have to get on the plane either." I was like, "Well," I said, "we don't have to be like that." I said, "I just need to." He goes, "I'm going to put this on." He says, "You can ask them down there if there's one more spot, you could put it up." He says, "But I really think you're going to need to leave it at the bottom of the ramp." I said, "Okay." So I go around the corner. I'm going down, the ramp, and I left, right. Nobody's there. I'm the very first one, right? So I just pulled that thing off, the check your bag strip they put on there, and just put it in my pocket. I'm like, I'm not leaving this bag behind me. So as I'm getting on the plane, I asked for the I talked about these Delta pilot cards, these trading cards. So I asked, "Do you have any?" Because the first flight to Atlanta, they didn't have any. So I asked them, and this I'm just going to hold up because I did get one, and she said, "I don't know. I have to check with the pilot. What seat are you in?" So I told her. So I go all the way to the back, and luckily enough, there was room in the back for me to put my bag up. So I did get my bag up, and I sat down. And I'm sitting in the plane, and all of a sudden I see this guy that was telling me that I had to put the thing on. He's walking up, and he's looking left, looking right. I'm like, "Oh my God, this guy." I thought I was in trouble. I'm like, "This guy's looking for me now. Like, was I on camera? Did they see me pull this thing off?" And they're coming to say something. And then he sees me. He made eye contact, and he looks up at my seat number, and he walks right up. I'm like, "You got to be kidding me." I'm like, I'm thinking I got my bag up there, and he said, "Did you ask for a pilot's card?" I'm like, "Yeah," and he goes, "Oh, here it is." I'm like, "Oh, thank God." I thought I was being pulled off the plane for pulling off my thing and putting my my bag up top, because you never know these days what the heck can happen on these things. Um, I'll start by saying I really wanted, with this West Coast card show, right? I really wanted to experience this show. Um, and with my son living out there, it was an easy decision to go. And I talked about on the last Hobby Chop episode that there are times and expenses that you have to put towards entertainment, and that can't come out of the cards because if it's always all about the cards and the profit and loss, which some people it is, for me, it probably really wouldn't work out, or I would be like, I need to make much different decisions to make sure it does work out. But in this case, there is a lot of expenses going to this show, but I really wanted to experience it, so I had to figure out, what expenses were gonna be the show and what expenses were gonna be personal entertainment, right? Um, Not only do I get to experience the show that I've heard so much about, but I also get to meet all my West Coast listeners. And I mean, I met a ton of people, and it's easier when you're set up too, right? So even when I went to the national, I'm messaging with people and trying to meet up with people, and that's difficult sometimes at the national. I mean, if you've been there, you know how crazy that place is. Um, so I try to meet as many listeners. Now, if I was set up there, it's easy for people to find me, right? So going and setting up here, it's easy. Like I'm in one place, it's easy for people to find me. And I knew, you know, I didn't realize I was going to be as overwhelmed as I was by how many people came and how many listeners that I have that actually attended this show. I mean, it was just awesome. All the people I came, and even the people around me after the first day and into the second day, they're like, "Now, who are you again?" Like they're asking me. Like all of a sudden, I'm a celebrity because so many people were coming to see me. So it was great, and you guys just really made me feel welcome out there. Um, Also being, like I said, being able to spend time with my son out there, it was win win win, right, for me to go to this show. Um, and with that said, I don't know the exact number on the attendance. But because of the size of the room and the amount of dealers, the show never felt overcrowded. I know I did a live on Friday. I did a live Friday, and I know I was saying people say it's going to feel like the national here. It's going to feel like the national. And from what other dealers have told me, that in the past they used two smaller rooms and the rooms were always very crowded, right? So now they opened it up to this one huge room. The show never felt overcrowded. I would never say it felt like a national to me out there. Um, But with that said, the room being so big, I'm sure there was a ton of foot traffic that came through. I can say that Saturday was probably the busier of the 4 days, but I think Sunday I was surprised. And people said, look, on Sunday, you're going to see a lot of people packing up at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, trying to make flights and stuff like that. Honestly, it was probably more like the show went to 4 o'clock. It was probably more like 3 o'clock where I noticed people starting to pack up. And I think it was probably just because it was so busy. People are like, why am I going to leave if it's this busy? They did give us custom badges, which I have, which I thought were pretty cool. The dealers were the Rolling Stones. So, I mean, I'll just hold these up. They were actually cards that are slabbed with BGS in a holder. Good idea, but maybe bad idea. I mean, you get a custom badge, but that thing was so heavy around your neck, right? I wear one of those Zion crossbody, where I put my money and stuff like that in there, and I just tried to tie that thing around because just having that hang around your neck all weekend was it was heavy. It wasn't pleasant. And also like the people who got the VIP got Steph Curry, and then the one day got a wristband. So like any other show, we had to decipher, the badges just to know who you were selling to. Um, and I'll touch on that in just a minute. But I did, I was there Wednesday. I got to the show early. I know Thursday 8 a.m. started to set up. So I had planned on pricing my cards Wednesday. I was getting in, supposed to get there at like 12:40 on Wednesday. I figured Wednesday afternoon, I was going to see my son Wednesday night. I'm going to price all my cards on Wednesday afternoon. Well, of course, my flight didn't get in there until like 7:30 at night. So Thursday morning, I got up early and priced all my cards. I went over like 11 o'clock. And there wasn't a lot of people set up over there. So I left and I went back at like 3:30. Um, tried to, I did do a little shopping. I just, I did buy some stuff. Thursday it was 5 to 9. It was VIP. VIP was the 5 to 9 on Thursday night. And most dealers, like I said, they really weren't set up till like 3 or 4 o'clock. So wasn't a lot of time for shopping before the show actually started. But I did get some done. And spoiler alert, I didn't buy any great big cards. I know a lot of people came back and said, wow, look what I got. These are my big pickups. I bought a ton of women's college basketball cards. That was my goal. That's what I talked about. That's what I've been trying to find. I did find a few higher end Juju Watkins and Sarah Strong cards, but dealers just weren't motivated to sell them or to negotiate on them. They were trying to be at almost 100%. And I mean, someone like Juju, who's injured, is probably not even going to be back this year. I just felt I could probably get a better deal somewhere else. So I didn't buy anything higher end at this show, but I did buy probably 40 to 50 low, I'm going to say lower end because they're all singles, nothing slabbed. I bought a few Sarah Strong PSA 10 autos, but for the most part, they were all, autos and numbered stuff that, I either pulled out of cases or pulled out of boxes, but all women's college basketball stuff, which is exactly what I was looking for. So I was happy to find that. And here's another spoiler alert. I expected that the women's basketball stuff would be a lot more popular than it was. So on one hand, I was getting all these deals. I was almost naming my own price. I was pulling these cards out and I was like, in my mind, I'm like, look, I'm going to start at like 80% and, they'll probably come back, and I'm okay with that. And I was throwing a number out and they're like, oh yeah, that's fine. And I was like, oh, really? So the next time I'm like, well, I'm just going to go at 70%. And I'll say, and they're like, oh yeah, that's fine. I'm like, man, I should have been at 60%. Right. So, it's like East Coast mine, West Coast mine, like it's a little bit different, right? But yeah, I bought a ton of stuff. I'm going to hope to grade that stuff, get that stuff looked at, graded, and have that'll be my December, January, February, right up to March Madness. That'll be, in the height of the season, the play, the tournament and the March Madness tournament. That'll be kind of my lane for that stuff right there. I talked about in the last episode that I was going out there to sell cards for a hobby reset. And I really tried to stick to that plan. Had I known how slow Thursday night was going to be, I probably would have traveled on Thursday and been ready to go Friday morning. But, I did not know. So, I just planned accordingly to when the show was starting. Thursday and Friday, I felt like I was just saying no a lot. A ton of other dealers, and I'm going to call repacker types because, there's all different types now, like people buying for different things, whether it's a whatnot stream or repacker or just, resale somewhere else. Everybody just coming up saying, hey, if I take a bunch of these cards, could you get to 80% or 85%? And I was like, no, I'm probably not your guy, right? I was committed going out there, and I put my spreadsheet together. I said 90%, that's it. And my wife even said, she said, "Why do you have 90 and 95% on there?" I said, "Just so I know." I said, "The 90 is the bottom line for me." I said, "But I'd like to be above that. But again, it would be a bottom line. I'm not going below that on cards." And it's that time of year too that even on even though I had the spreadsheet, I had the prices out there, uh, even on Thursday morning, some of those prices have changed. Some of those last comps have changed. Some of the football stuff had sold a little higher. Even some of the women's basketball stuff had sold a little higher. So I got to adjust those, and some of them had sold a little lower. So I needed to adjust those prices as well. But I was really committed at 90% or better, because I knew eventually, the regular crowds were going to come in and pay stronger on these cards. We see that at every show, and they did. I mean, that's exactly what happened. Saturday and Sunday were very good days for me. And I know most people would probably start worrying, after traveling out there with all these expenses and hardly selling anything on the first 2 days. I know people would start worrying. Um, I've been around the block. I know the industry. I know the shows. I knew Saturday and Sunday would bring the buyers, and they did. Um, and I will say I sold about 75% of my football inventory. Um, I had 3 cases out there. I had 1 case of football. I had 1 case of just Caitlin Clark PSA 10 cards. Just all PSA 10 Caitlin Clark from $100 all the way up. Um, and I had 1 case of WNBA and two row boxes of three rows were discount WNBA discount, and 1 row was football discount. So surprisingly enough, on the football, the discounted football I had, which was like $75 and less, I didn't even put those on the table till Saturday. I didn't put those out there till Saturday. I just kept them, off the table, because I knew the other dealers were just going to try to come buy them thinking the discount, and, I'm going to get these for on the cheap. And I figured, you know what? I'm just going to hold them till Saturday till it gets busy. I'll throw those in the box, and then it gives opportunity for people who, and it's exactly what it was. It was people showing up with kids that the kid wanted, a JJ McCarthy, Don Russ PSA 10. It's like a $50 card or a $45 card, where, most other dealers would try to be at like $30 on something like that, where this is like these parents, like, yeah, this is perfect. I could spend $50 and get my kid a card, and now he's got a PSA 10 of the player that he really likes, and we can move on. So I think it's important to have those for people, especially the parents and the kids and the things like that showing up. I think it's important to have those in there. So I was happy to hold them and move those just like that to a lot of people just like that. Um, Surprisingly, I only sold 5 Caitlin Clarks out of my PSA 10 case. Um, I sold a ton of cards out of the WNBA discount boxes, and probably 10 or so, 10, 12, 14 cards out of my WNBA case. Um, and those were true. The stuff coming out of that WNBA case were just true fans of whoever they were buying. Because my WNBA case, I had 2 rows of Cameron Brink PSA 10s, right, and 1 row of Rakia Jackson PSA 10, and they both play for the Los Angeles Sparks, so we're right there. I mean, this is their fan base is going to be right there. Then I had some older stuff. I had some Rittenhouse cards in there, and just current stuff like Sophie Cunningham, things like that. Even some of the Bowman U stuff. Like Sonia Citron, Kiki Arifin, cars like that, PSA 10 autos, just stuff like that in those cases. There's something that's going to, a little bit of everything for, a little something for everybody. Um, and going out there, I was thinking in my mind, the Cameron Brinks, the Rakia Jackson, I mean, because the sparks are right there. I mean, those are going to be the most popular. Those cards are just going to boom sell immediately. And so many people walked up to the table saying, "Oh, I bet you're killing it with Cameron Brink and all this Caitlin Clark stuff. Oh, you must be killing it out here." And surprisingly, I thought I would have been too. Um, I don't think I ever sold a Cameron Brink PSA 10. Uh, all my surprisingly, all my Rakia Jackson stuff sold. People were more in on her than Cameron Brink, and I think Cameron Brink she just got back in the end of July, beginning of August. She'd been out for the year. And Rakia Jackson, a lot of playing time, and I think she's really built up her fan base. So that's probably, and a couple of people have said that too. Like people really like her out there. Um, so I was really surprised that as much as people love the WNBA cards and thanked me, they're like, "Oh my God, like I can't believe all this WNBA. I go to all these shows, I don't see any WNBA," and on and on. And then I started thinking to myself, well, there's probably a reason why nobody puts WNBA out, because nobody's buying it. Like nobody's interested, in buying the cards. So that's why you don't see it out there. Um, a lot of people ask me, hey, is there much difference, doing East Coast card shows versus the West Coast? And I told everybody the same thing. And this is one of the things that I figured out quickly over the 4 days I was there. Here in the East Coast, if we like a card, we tend to stay and negotiate for as long as it takes, right, to get the deal done. We try to wear people down, to get that card at the best price, but we stay and we work at it until we can get the deal done. West Coast, definitely different. On any bigger cards I sold, the buyer came back to the table at least 3 or more times before they purchased the card. And the first time they were at the table, I would give them my bottom line, my non-negotiable, right? They'd come up and say, "Hey, what's the best on this card?" And I'd say, "You want the best or do you want to negotiate?" And they go, "No, I want the best price." Well, here's my best price. They didn't believe me because no matter what I said on a card, you know, and I'll give you for instance, my bottom line on the card's 500. Well, you take 350, or you just ask what my best price was. I said 500. That was it. 375? No. Okay, I'll think about it. And they'd come back. I can get to 400. Can you do 400? Look, my best is 500 on the card. And this would happen. They would leave and come back and leave and come back. And they'd end up paying $500 for the card. And I know they're off looking to see if they can find this card somewhere else at a cheaper price too. Right. And I think I was very fair on my lower prices. I put prices on the cards, staying at the percentage that I wanted, but that people would say that's a great price on that card, especially if somebody wanted to buy that card for themselves, which a few of those, I would have to say the majority of the bigger cards people were buying, they were buying because they believed in the player, that they were buying to hold on to, maybe sell later, or just buying because that was their player. And the other thing was they did not like it when you accept their offer. That's the craziest thing. It seemed like a handful of times when somebody would make an offer on something where I think in my mind, I've got 250 on that card, 220 would be my bottom on that card. And then somebody would be like, "Oh, can you do 225 on the card?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I can do that." And they're like, "Oh, well, can you do 200?" I'm like, "You just offered me 225. Well, I can't do 225. Why? Because I accepted? Did you want me to come back higher?" I'm like, "No, I can't do 200. Told you I could do 225. I like, that was my bottom line on the card, and you hit it. Like, do you want the card or not?" And a few people walked away after they made an offer on the card. I accepted the card, and they offered me less money, and I said no. Then they walked away. I'm like, oh, I had one lady who spent almost a half an hour on a handful of cards at my table. We're going through the discount box. We're looking at the prices. We're looking at the last comp. Every card negotiated the price. So we came to an agreement on the actual price to the cards, and the cards ended up being at $240. And early on, I said, in the discount in these boxes here, I, I could be at 85%. And she was fine. That's good. I'll accept that. So we get up to the cards are at 240, 85% is 204. So I said, look, even 200. After 30 minutes, she said, can you do 195? I said, I think I'm being very fair at 200, and it's under what we agreed on in the beginning, the 85%. And all of a sudden she looked at me and said, yeah, I can't be at 200, and put the cards down and walked away. I was like, there were other people standing around, because, it's a little busy. People are looking, people are waiting, right? There was another lady there waiting patiently. And she picked up those same cards that I negotiated with this lady this whole time, and she put them aside. And she said, I want to look at some other cards in the discount box. Is it okay if I spread them out on the case so I could decide which one I want? And I said, yes. But I had no idea that she was going to take every card out of 3 rows and cover all my cases with the cards. And she was going through them and taking pictures of them. And it was funny because my son and his friends were there at the time. They had come to the show for one of the days. And at this point, I know I'm not going to get to sell anything because nobody could see any cards in my cases because she had all the cases covered. So I said to my son, I said, I'm going to run to the bathroom. I'll be back. So I left and I came back, and she had all the cards put away, and she still had those same cards out from the lady before that I negotiated with. And she goes, well, I'm definitely going to take these cards here, and I'm going to pay you $240 on those cards there. And I said, well, why would you do that? You heard me. I negotiated. I told the other lady 200. I said I could be at 200 on those cards there. And she said, oh, no. She goes, you earned it. I'll pay you for that. And once she started spreading the cards out, I wasn't even sure if she was going to buy anything. Not only did she buy those 4 cards, but she bought a whole bunch of other cards too. She put all the cards back in the box. She took all her cards out to show me. She put her cards back. She went back in the box, and she pulled out like 3 or 4 other cards, and she ended up buying. So like you never know what is going to happen at a card show. It was such a unique experience. That hour of that show was such a unique experience. The 30 minutes with no sale, and then the 30 minutes that I didn't think I was going to get a sale, I got more than I expected. So those are the things at card shows that you can never you never see that coming. But all in all, it was a great trip. I'm happy I did it. I'm happy I experienced this show. I felt I could have, the cards that I did sell, especially the football, I probably could have sold right here on the East Coast at a local show. Probably for the same prices, right? I mean, I'm sure I could have, but here's that point of the entertainment value I talk about, that it's just great to be able to experience these shows, and not only just experience the show, but when other people are talking about the show, you could be like, yeah, I was there. I know that show. I know where it is. And this is why every year I talk about just getting out and going to different shows, wanting to travel. It's tough travel going out there. That's why I know, like, a lot of West Coasters that I talked about said they never come to the East Coast, but they don't even make it to the national. Like, they just figure the travel is too much, that they have enough great shows where they are, that they don't need to, travel and put out that money for all those expenses, which I completely understand. But for me, as far as meeting, so many listeners, and just new people at the show, that's to me, that's priceless. And that's really why I like to travel to these bigger shows, because I just know I'm gonna not only meet up with listeners, but I'm just gonna meet new people. Um, I felt the show was well organized from beginning to end. Just such great communication. It was easy online to buy the tables. There were so many links provided for the case rental and the hotels, and so many different things. I just think it was just well done. The only thing I was disappointed with was with the trade night. Um, the first night, so it was funny because somebody came right to the table and said, "I read the same thing you did, but the trade night's actually 2 nights in the same hotel." So it looked like it was Friday night sports at the Marriott, and across the street was Saturday night TCG, but it was really both nights. Marriott was sports, TCG at Hilton. And it was Friday and Saturday. So there was 2 nights of trade night. So I did go to the first one, the first trade night on Friday night. Um, Disappointed walking in to see that the tables were reserved. And mostly what it felt like, it was just dealers that I just saw over at that show that just came over here, and now they're at trade night with reserved tables. I heard a number of people complaining, like, it's a trade night. How do you reserve? Why are all these tables being reserved for trade night? I did walk in. I did not do any deals. I did not stay long, um, and I did not go to trade night the second night. And that's me, right? I talked to people that said they got a lot of deals done in trade night, which you do. You do get a lot of deals done at trade night, but if I wanted to buy those cards, I could do it at the show. I didn't need to see the same dealers. I was hoping in trade night that I was going to see a lot of the attendees were going to be able to set up at these tables, because those are the cards I really wanted to look at. Not the same cards that were in cases at the show, but some different cards that I could find in there. But yeah, that's it. That's my trip. It's probably going to take me a week to get back into the swing of things, but I know we're doing the hobby chop. We're doing a live Sunday night at 9:30 Eastern time. So looking forward to that, and I will be back next week with a brand new episode. And I apologize if I feel like I didn't come with the enthusiasm. I'm still adjusting, but I was really excited for this experience and just meeting so many new people out there. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please definitely subscribe. And most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. Until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.